Welcome, Mr. Aarogya, on NEP 2020 Aspiration to Action video talk. We are so glad to have you talk with us. For everyone in education sector, NEP 2020 is indeed aspirational, and we would really want to see it happening in action. Before we talk about the actions required, let me first start by introducing you to our viewers. Mr. Aarogya has 20 years of experience in the education sector across India and the Middle East. He is currently the principal of Ambassador School in Sharjah. Mr. Aarogya has institutionalized many initiatives for holistic learning of the students, curriculum development, and professional training of teachers. He has successfully integrated various forms of technologies at various levels in the school system and has currently implemented the hybrid learning model at his school in this pandemic. He has also worked as a school inspection committee member for affiliation of schools to CBSE and has been an inspector of examination for ICSE board. Mr. Aarogya has also led the CBSE School Principals Forum in Qatar chapter of CBSE Gulf Council. Welcome, Mr. Aarogya. We are so glad to have you talk with us.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for this wonderful introduction. And it's a pleasure to be associated with you and your team who work tirelessly to integrate STEAM into the main curriculum of the schools. So I'm more privileged to interact with you as well. And this is the auspicious time for us because the new education policy 2020 of India is insisting for integration of subjects. And this is a welcome note. I think we are ahead of time, but however, we also need to collaborate with the rest of the schools across India and the world. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful to listen to this. You have spent so many years in the education sector, and this policy on education is announced 34 years after the previous one. If you had to describe NEP in one word, what would that be?
Okay, yes. If you ask me what is NEP 2020, I think it's in spirit it is local, but in thought it is global.
Yeah, very nice to listen to this. Talking about aspiration to action of NEP 2020, we would like to know about the preparation or steps that you have already started in your school.
Well, I think firmly I believe that education is more of a skill development rather than just imparting knowledge or transfer of knowledge. It's more of a transfer of skills, I believe. So the focus always has been to develop skills. And we have looked at the 21st century skills. Like, for example, I can share the screen and give you the examples of the same. How do we incorporate the 21st century skills among our students? So the basic thing we are looking at is the learning skills, which are critical thinking skills, or the creative skills, in the sense the creativity of the child.
Right.
We are also looking at the collaborative skills of the students, because definitely they have to collaborate when they go into their professional life or the workspace.
Right. Yeah.
And also the communication is critical. Now, there are various means of communication, but however, communication is the crux of everything. Despite the technology or even the advancement of technology will always be communication key factor. Now, we are also looking at the literacy skills. Now, again, going back to the traditional literacy does not mean the 3 R's. We are not just looking at the 3 R's. We are looking more about the information and communication technology, which is the ICT or the IT, whatever you call it. And added with that, now the latest trend is the media. For example, the social media is taking a upper hand. In a fraction of a second, the whole world knows what is happening across the world now.
Right.
So media also plays very important, and children should be trained to handle media as well. And then we also look at the life skills for students. Now, life skills, of course, we all know. We all survive only just because we have enough of life skills to manage life. It's more of flexibility, being agile to adapt to the situations.
Right.
It's about leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership, when I say, does not mean that only the head of the institute or the head of the company is, or the boss is the leader.
Right.
Every person has to lead his or her life, because
Yeah.
all of us live as social beings. So
Yes.
leadership is critical in every aspect, including family life.
Yeah.
Then the initiative part of it, or the innovative part of it.
Right.
There should be something new always, and that is what makes us to survive in the market, if you speak in terms of the business.
Right.
Then productivity, of course, use
Yeah.
of time, and the
Right.
social skills, which already I referred, that we all have to
Right.
be in line with the other people and understand the
Right.
sentiments and emotions of all citizens of the world.
Right. Thank you for sharing this, sir. It was nice to listen to all the skills that you have mentioned here, and especially media as part of the literacy skills that you have included. You have worked with schools in India and UAE. What are some of the similarities and differences in how Indian schools academically operate in both these countries?
Well, yeah. So the two sides, if you ask me, similarities, of course, it's the same curriculum that we follow. Uh, Let us say CBSE in India, CBSE abroad is the same.
Right.
ICSE in India, ICSE abroad is the same.
Yeah.
IGCSE also to curriculum is the same across the globe. Now, though for India, we have the National Council for Educational Research and Training, NCRT, frames the curriculum,
Yeah.
but state board or the central board, which is CBSE or ICSE, more or less the concepts are the same. The variation is in the content part of it. But otherwise, by and large, the curriculum is the same across all the boards, including the international boards like IGCSE.
Right.
Now, the other commonality is the pattern of examination or the assessment. So, end of every year, every board, irrespective of the country, has an examination to say that the child is promoted to the next level. Okay. Now, dissimilarities, yes. From my own experience, I can say that the state boards insist more on the content part of it.
Okay.
Whereas, for example, CBSE insists more on the skill development or the application aspect of it.
Okay.
ICSE pushes us to be more creative in our writing and everything. So there is a variation even in it. So there is a dissimilarity. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Second is with regard to the regulatory bodies. Okay. Now in India, for example, the regulatory bodies, be it at the state level, right from top regional joint director, deputy educational officer, or district educational officer, down the line, we have more at the administrative level. They are more on the clerical front of it, issuing
Okay.
letters and then telling people what to do, but
Okay.
hardly they come and see how far it is being implemented, and rarely they train people how to implement it also. Okay, the ideas are flown, but the ground reality is very different, because people are caught what to do now. Circular has come, but how do we do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I think from my experience in Qatar and in UAE, for example, the
Right.
regulatory bodies here are more particular about the ground part of it. Even before the circular is issued about a particular thing, they train the people and they say that
Okay.
this is going to come in the next couple of months. Be prepared
Okay.
for it. This is what we expect from you. This is how we would be judging you. This is what evidence you need to submit to us. So there is a
Okay.
clear cut example of what is expected, what is to
Okay.
be done, and how it is going to be assessed. Now that gives a benchmark for us also, and we know the expectations. We also know what needs to be new in it, first thing.
Right.
Second, we also have these regular inspections or accreditations, for example. So if we want to be accredited with that particular regulatory body here, we need to follow all the parameters that have been stipulated.
Yeah.
So there is a transparency from the regulatory body what is expected. At the same time, every school or every institute is compelled to follow it or rather be compliant with the guidelines. So that is another dissimilarity we see it.
Okay.
If you ask me about the teachers, for example, the teachers abroad are more skilled. They are more IT enabled because the infrastructure itself is such. Every school has a smart technology in it. And as far as I know, 90% of the schools use technology in the classroom because every teacher is being given a laptop or a smart device and they do carry it to the classes. And the second aspect related to technology, now it has both pros and cons in the sense in the developed countries or where I'm working right now, technology in terms of equity, because every house is Wi-Fi enabled and they have enough of devices at home to use. So that also prompts the schools to implement technology at a higher speed, which is not the case in India. Yes, it has its own geographical features for it. And of course, socio-economical factors are into it. But I think when you compare with India, yes, the other countries are ahead in using technology.
You shared about more usage of technological devices by a large number of students as well as teachers there. Integration of technology in teaching and learning is also one of the key focus areas of NEP 2020. And you have already been implementing many technologies in your school. You had earlier mentioned about hybrid learning model that is currently getting incorporated in your school. So how are you implementing this model at your school?
Right. Well, now the hybrid learning is very critical now because of the pandemic situation.
Yeah.
Where now here the regulatory body has given a preference to the parents. If parents prefer, they can send their school. Otherwise, they can access the online classes from home. Now, given that every parent is more apprehensive about the health of the student than the learning of the student in this situation, because we tend to think, and we are right, life is more important than anything else. Okay. So in that context, now there are few parents who definitely want to send the kids to school. So we have a fraction of, very small fraction, okay, of parents who want to send the kids to school. And we have a majority fraction of the parents who want to remain at school but access the classes. So in this scenario, now we have implemented the hybrid model, which means to say that the students who prefer to come to school will come to school. And the school has the facility of IT enabled system where being in the classroom with my students who are physically present, I deliver a lecture which is being in a way recorded and being broadcast. I will say that. I won't say recorded, but it is more of a real-time broadcast, which is happening through the IT, and the student who is at home also is accessing at the same time the same learning that is happening in this class. So as a teacher, I am able to cater to the students who are in front of me. At the same time, I am also able to cater to the students who are at home. And that is what we name it as the hybrid learning now. And I think the future is going to be that. The future definitely is going to be more of hybrid learning. And when I say hybrid learning in future, the day I prefer as a child, I will come to school. The day I don't feel like coming to school, I can access sitting at home. So that would be the norm in coming days.
Okay. Do you think pandemic has a role in bringing technology or integrating technology faster in the education system?
Yes. That's, I think, is a blessing in disguise, I would say, especially for education. Okay.
Absolutely.
If I mean, or had not been there the pandemic, maybe we would have still followed the traditional classes, everyone reporting to the school, students sitting next to each other, teacher delivering in the same style of the age-old tradition, which is very good. Not that we, I mean, discard it. But I think this pandemic has pushed us almost a decade ahead, I would say, maybe more than that. That is the way I look at it. Yes. It has I mean, in a way, it has accelerated the actual educational setup.
Yeah, absolutely. 21st century education has been the major focus of the Ministry of Education in UAE for many years now. You have led Indian CBSE schools in Qatar as well as in Sharjah. What are some of the changes that you have brought in your schools that are focused on 21st century education?
Well, yes, I think as I said in the beginning, I look more at the skill development. So the first thing we did was that looking at the curriculum, we in a way revamped the curriculum. And when I say revamp the curriculum, I would say that we have incorporated in our curriculum planning itself the skills that are required. Like we have included the critical thinking skills, the higher order thinking skills, and then we also linked it with multidisciplinary approach, which is called as the cross-curricular links.
Okay.
I mean, if I can give you an example,
Right.
like for example, grade 6, 7, 8, across all the boards, there is a lesson on solar system. Okay.
Okay.
Now, fortunately or unfortunately, solar system is taught by science, in the sense, in the curriculum of science, as well as in the
Right.
curriculum of social studies. Okay.
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
same chapter, more or less the content is
Yeah.
the same. Now, should we teach
Right.
them in
Yeah.
both the periods? No, it's not a requirement. If the
Yeah.
science department has taught already during their class, the social science
Yeah.
need not teach it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and at the same time, solar system in the curriculum that we have is more content based. It speaks about the distance between sun, moon, or the other planets, how many, planets exist, what exists, but it doesn't actually speak about the application part of it. So in our curriculum,
Yeah.
for example, when we teach solar system, I'm just citing an example. Okay. I'm sure there would
Right.
be a
Right.
number of examples, and there are also a number of
Yeah.
schools who would be doing it. Okay. But just to give an
Right.
insight, now, when we teach solar
Yeah.
system, though we teach the concept. Now, if I
Yeah.
am teaching solar system, I go to the class, I put
Yeah.
up my full classroom with a lot of charts about information on the different planets and the solar system. I
Right.
ask my students, take a gallery walk, okay, and then they walk around, they make their notes, they come back. Then I
Right.
divide them into the groups, and then
Okay.
I pose few questions to them, like, okay, which planet other than the Earth is
Yeah.
conducive to live, for example.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, if a particular planet is not conducive for living, like Earth, what changes would you propose to
Okay.
that planet?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
so when we probe these questions,
Yeah.
generally it is not in the book that we provided, the textbook, but the
Yeah.
children are in a way inspired to go and research.
Yes.
Now, when they conduct such research,
Yeah.
automatically we know that they are going to explore. And
Yes.
they also know that why it is being taken in that spirit.
Absolutely.
Now, if Earth is the only place to live, they are trying to find
Yeah.
alternatives to it, which in a way gives them a lot of
Yeah.
insight about the other planets. So all that
Right.
I want to say is that in the curriculum itself, we need to ensure, and that is the school's
Yeah.
responsibility. What do we make our
Yeah.
students learn? First thing, how do we make our students learn? And how do we prepare our students for the future? Lies with the school's planning.
Yeah.
So for us,
Right.
curriculum revamping has been a major change.
So revamping of curriculum to bring 21st century education. Wonderful to listen to this. Thank you. This is an interesting question. If you had the freedom to introduce two subjects that are absolutely essential and relevant in this 21st century, what would those subjects be?
Okay. The first thing, if I think, I will look at the technological literacy.
Okay, technology.
Now, yeah, technology, because right now, I don't think any curriculum insists for computer science right from primary or the middle school. It's an optional subject only from grade 11 and 12. Of course,
Okay.
CBSE has introduced the skill subjects from grade 8 onwards now, like artificial intelligence and other skill subjects, but I don't think
Okay.
it is a compulsory subject. But I think it
Okay.
should be some compulsory subject right from the primary stages.
Okay.
So that would be one.
Okay.
The second would be design thinking will be another subject I would be interested in.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay.
Should be from the primary years.
Right.
Because it actually helps children to think.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ask me what is a design thinking, for example, we do it in our school, like,
Yeah.
though it's not as a subject, but we integrate it as part of STEM learning.
Okay.
Now, even if it is a birthday party, we ask them, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to have your birthday party next week around. Just tell us what would be your planning.
Yeah.
So the child visualizes and he comes up with few plans, like I will invite these many guests. Then we ask them, like, how many guests are going to be? Do you have so much of space in your house to accommodate those guests? Then the child says, no, I am planning to go to a restaurant or a hotel,
Yeah.
So the
Right.
discussion happens, but at least the child is thinking.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Right.
So that's another subject I think I would prefer.
Yeah.
And then if you ask me, more at the middle and secondary or senior secondary level, artificial
Okay.
intelligence would
Okay.
also be something that I am of interested in.
Okay. Technology literacy, design thinking, and artificial intelligence. Interesting to see these subjects as part of the school timetable. NEP 2020 has given a lot of emphasis to early childhood care and education. The document of NEP 2020 mentions that in India, quality early childhood care and education is not available to crores of young children, particularly children from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. Can you share some methodologies that you have seen or incorporated that you would categorize as quality early childhood care and education? Yeah.
Yes, I think early years foundation stage, we call it in the international curriculum, EYFS, we call it. Of course, in Indian context, we call it as the early childhood education. Now, I think the base for us is development of skills in them again. And I think NEP, in a way, has pushed it forward by telling us that the primary years have to be in the child's mother tongue or the regional language, which is a welcome decision. Uh, because previously, when I worked with Aga Khan Network, we did have the research conducted where we have scientifically proven that mother tongue learning in the primary years is as effective as learning in any other medium or English, for example. Okay.
Right.
Because if a child is capable of learning that particular language, which
Yeah.
is by birth,
Yeah.
okay, definitely the transfer of skills can be applied to any other language that he or she learns later in life.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. So to develop or to provide a quality education at the early years,
Yeah.
I think we need to look at the learner profiles. And the learner profiles of those people will be, the first thing is, as I said, literacy, where we need to develop their skills in the language, whichever language. If it is English, it has to be English. And for example, in my school, we concentrate more on the phonics. We don't teach them letters at all.
Okay.
KG1, KG2, we teach only the sounds. We don't even say it is A, B. We say B, B. And then we bring in blends with B. So they don't know the letters actually. They learn the alphabets only when they come to grade 1. But they know the phonics. So even when they read it, they will be blending the phonics and they will read. And in KG1, KG2, in our school, for example, when you tell them school, they may write the spelling very wrong. Incorrect, fully incorrect, I tell you. They will put S, they will write K, K, okay, and then U for U sound, and then L. For them, it is school, finished.
Okay.
Technically, it is wrong, but phonically, it is right, and we give them mark. We don't put it as
Okay.
wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
so. All of us have to think creatively because skill is more important.
Yeah.
Spellings they will
Yeah.
learn as they
Right.
grow up. When they start reading the books, automatically they will learn the spelling of it. But I think
Right.
syllables, breaking into syllables, combining those syllables, blending, diagraphs, trigraphs, this is critical for language learning, especially in English.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Now, the second thing, if you ask me, is the numeracy, which is maths. Okay. Now, again, coming to maths, we teach them the basic, or we call it as pre-mathematical concepts. before we go into the numbers and number system, we teach them actually pre-mathematical concepts. The pre-mathematical concepts are very simple again. Small, big, tall. Okay? Or it is light and heavy.
Okay.
Soft, hard. We call them as pre-mathematical concepts. Now, if a child is able to get to these terminology, which is purely maths and science, we use it mostly in science and maths. Okay.
Yeah.
So the child is in a way tuned to learn those numeracy skills later. And then slowly we introduce them to the number system. Number system across the globe is the same.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. And for example, in the primary, when we come to times tables, for example,
Yeah.
the normal way is judging of table, okay, which is very, very good. And all of us are experts in it because that is
Right.
the way we have learned it. Okay?
Yeah.
But
Right.
we do it more like, we call it as a times table rock star.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we don't give them direct table as such, but we give them the multiplications of the table,
Okay.
and students start working on it. It's more of a technology integrated app, actually, it is.
Okay.
Okay. And then the students come on to it. Okay. Instead of writing, 2 times 2 is 4, we give them only 2 in one group and the 2 in the other group and ask them how many are those. So 2 is one side, 2 is the other side, 2 times 2 is 4. No, there
Yeah.
is a methodology of understanding.
Yeah.
So we try to simplify the concept. We try also to integrate the technology, and we give more of hands-on manipulatives where children can really feel and touch and combine it, and then they get interested. So I think mathematical skills also is important. The other thing we do in the early years again is we have topic called UOW, we call it understanding of the world, which is more
Okay.
like around the world. Okay. And the way we do it is like I mean, let us say 10 sections we have in KG1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay. Now,
Right.
A will adopt a country. Okay. Let us say Australia.
Okay.
Okay. B can take Brazil, for example. C can take Canada. D take some other country. So based on their alphabetical order, they can choose any country of their choice. It is the teacher's choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes even as a school, we give them the continent. Within the continent only, you can select the country.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now that particular class, for example, if I am in A and my
Yeah.
class theme is Australia, so
Yeah.
the whole class learns about Australia, their diet, their culture, their tradition, the flag, no, the demographies of it, everything. It is part of their regular curriculum. Throughout the year, they will be learning more about Australia. At the same time, depending on the teacher's choice, either on a fortnight or maybe monthly once, every class will be moving to the other class to learn about that particular country. So if I'm in Australia, I know about Australia, but B, Brazil, I don't know. So the
Yeah.
entire class will move to B for one day, and the
Yeah.
teacher and those students of B section will educate the A section students about Brazil.
Oh, peer learning. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's also peer learning.
Yeah.
So that way, by the end of the year, at least KG1, if you have 10 sections, all the
Yeah.
students know about 10 countries in the world.
Wonderful. This is happening in grade
And
one.
that's again a global learning. Okay, global citizenship it is.
Yeah. This is happening in grade one, right?
KG1, KG2, it
Okay.
happens across. But even
Okay.
in KG1, because we are speaking about the early years, I'm referring to
Okay.
KG1, KG2s now.
Okay. 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 Nice.
Okay.
Right.
The other thing we integrate is the STEM right
Okay.
from KG1.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, it's massive in KG1, I would say, because
Okay.
it's a very simple thing. Like last week only, we had the STEM week.
Okay.
Okay. Now, during this, I mean, of course, we have subject weeks for everything. We call it as week. In the normal language, it is called as Varotsav. Okay.
Okay.
It's a week celebration. So, like you have English week, math week, science week, social week. Then we also have the STEM week. So
Okay.
during the STEM week, all activities happen related to STEM
Okay.
only. So
Okay.
last week we had that in the kindergarten, and all that they were supposed to do was that, okay, we play the game. make a pyramid with plastic glasses or balls or tins that you have, and you can pile up as many as you want. So it goes in pyramid. So start the base and the top should be the one which we all
Okay.
play around. Okay. But
Right.
for a child of 4 years age, fixing it without tilting or without falling apart is really a
Yeah.
difficult thing for him. But by
Yeah.
doing it, he knows how to balance each of those plastic glasses or whatever material he uses. It's
Right.
more of a design. It's more of a planning. It's more of architecture. There's a lot of engineering. There's a lot of science involved in it. And
Right.
when they make that shape of the pyramid, there is also art integrated within it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yes. And the other thing we need to look at the early years is the uh, physical, social, and emotional
Right.
development.
Okay.
We generally call it as PSED.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
which is more of physical, because formative years, we
Right.
need to develop their gross motor and fine motors. So they need a lot of help for the fine motors, especially.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to have those physical movements, exercises,
Right.
lot of things. For example, part of our fine motors, we simple thing we do with KG1s is we
Yeah.
ask them to lace their own
Okay.
shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a
Right.
simple activity in the class.
Right. Yeah. We have.
But in most cases, most of the time, the mother or the father does for them in the morning. We know it. Okay. Due to time constraint, different things, which they
Yeah.
generally not habituated to do it. But we do it
Yeah.
in the classroom, taking their own shoe and shoelace. They start
Yeah.
lacing it. Then,
Okay.
the grips.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So many different practices that you have implemented in the early years. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. One final question. If you were made the chief policy maker on education, what single change would you want to make to NEP 2020?
Change.
Yes, single change.
Okay, yeah. One single change, as I said, is computer science should be compulsory from grade 1. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Uh, the second thing, I mean, if you call it the second thing, I would say there is a 3 language formula. Every child needs to learn the mother tongue or the state language. Then there is the
Right.
additional language. There
Yeah.
is also another additional Indian language which we all need to learn. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say that besides English, which is the medium of instruction, for example, okay, there should be another either Indian language or a foreign language.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would say that one language is enough other than English, because English is considered as the window of the world, and we are more futuristic that the global citizens definitely have to speak in English. That's the way I am looking at it. Of course, people may debate on it, but still I am looking. So English is one option that is mandatory subject. Okay. But I think besides that, rather than going with the state language or whichever language, I know some of the South Indians may not appreciate my idea, but I would say that any one Indian language is enough. Be it Hindi, be it Tamil, be it Kannada, Telugu, or whichever Assami or Punjabi, whatever language. One Indian language is enough rather than having a 3 language formula.
Okay. Yeah.
So that
Interesting.
would be another change that I
Yeah.
prefer.
Okay. Great. Let's see how the changes will actually take place. Thank you, Mr. Aarogya, for taking out time to speak with us on NEP 2020 Aspiration to Action. You have shared some very useful insights and pointers that most of us in education will benefit from. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
It's a pleasure, yes. And thank you
Yeah.
so much, Natasha, for giving this opportunity to us. Especially, I know, I mean, we strive and do whatever we can by integrating a lot of things, but I don't think we are at the perfection level, but everything
Yes.
is evolving
Right.
right now. And education for
Right.
me is always evolving. And I
Yeah.
always tell my team also that there is never a dull moment in school,
Yeah.
because school is very
Right.
vibrant
Yeah.
and very dynamic.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So
Right.
I think these are few things which many schools also would be doing. I'm not new
Yeah.
to this. I'm the
Right.
only one doing it.
Yeah.
But I thought sharing these would definitely enable fellow colleagues and other schools as well. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and we wish you all the best as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.